They called him the boy from Miami. They called him ambitious. They called him a symbol of the American dream. But the story of Marco Rubio, it's more than politics. It's about a kid from a small Cuban exile family who dared to dream bigger than anyone thought possible. Picture a young boy running through the streets of Hialeah, Florida in the 1970s. The smell of Cuban coffee in the air, the chatter of Spanish filling the sidewalks. He was small, a little boy with big dreams. But life wasn't easy. His father, Mario, worked tirelessly to provide. His mother, Oria, kept the family grounded, holding on to the culture and faith that defined them. They had fled Cuba for freedom, and the shadow of exile hung over the household. Every day was a reminder of the sacrifices made and the price of hope. Hidden gem fact number 1. Marco Rubio grew up in a 3-bedroom apartment in Hialeah, Florida, with his parents and 3 brothers, all sharing one bathroom.
School was a battlefield in its own way. Young Marco was ambitious, curious, and sometimes underestimated. He studied hard, knowing that education was the ticket out, not just for himself, but for his family. He learned early that words could move mountains, and that charm and intelligence were weapons you could never put down. By the time he reached high school, Rubio had discovered a love for debate and public speaking. He could stand in front of a room and command attention. But it wasn't just for show. It was a way to fight for respect in a community where every kid had a story of struggle. After high school, Rubio attended the University of Florida, where he studied political science. He didn't just learn about government, he started plotting his path through it. By the time he was 23, he had his first taste of politics, working behind the scenes in campaigns, learning the ropes, and observing how power moved. Hidden gem fact number 2. Marco Rubio delivered pizzas as a teenager to help support his family long before he was giving speeches on the Senate floor. After college, he took the next step, law school at the University of Miami. It was there he sharpened his mind, learning the rules of law and order, the tools he would later wield on the national stage. But law school wasn't just about books. It was a crucible that tested his discipline, focus, and determination.
In 1998, at the age of 27, Rubio ran for the Florida House of Representatives. A young Cuban American with big ideas, he faced skepticism. Critics called him too young, too inexperienced, too ambitious. But Rubio didn't just run, he won. From that moment, people began noticing. Here was a man who could bridge worlds, Cuban and American, young and experienced, idealist and pragmatist. Hidden gem fact number 3. Rubio was the first in his family to graduate from college, a milestone that carried enormous pride and responsibility. During his time in the Florida House, he developed a reputation as a reformer. He tackled issues like crime, education, and government efficiency. He didn't seek applause, he sought results. And even as he worked tirelessly, the man behind the politician was quietly shaping his personal philosophy: hard work, faith, and the belief that America was a land of endless possibilities. By 2000, Rubio took another leap: the Florida Senate. He was still young, still ambitious, but now his work carried weight. He helped craft laws on crime reduction and economic development, earning the respect of colleagues and constituents alike. But the real turning point, the moment when Rubio began thinking bigger. The Senate was no longer a dream, it was a calling. And by 2010, the stage was set.
Rubio ran for the United States Senate, challenging a political establishment that didn't see him as a serious contender. He faced seasoned opponents, national scrutiny, and the weight of representing not just Florida, but the hopes of the Cuban-American community. The campaign was grueling. Every speech,
Every handshake, every debate mattered, and Rubio was relentless. He appealed to the dreamers, the hard workers, the families who wanted their children to succeed in a world that seemed stacked against them. When he won, he wasn't just elected, he was celebrated as a symbol of what America could offer anyone willing to fight for it. In the Senate, Rubio quickly established himself as a voice on foreign policy, immigration, and national security. He wasn't afraid to challenge party leaders or take stands that weren't always popular. And he became known for a rare combination: youthful energy and disciplined focus. Hidden gem fact number 5. Rubio famously memorized hundreds of foreign policy speeches and briefings early in his Senate career to ensure he could speak fluently on international issues.
But politics is never just about achievements. It's also about survival. Rubio faced criticism, missteps, and moments of doubt. He learned quickly that public service came with sacrifices, personal, familial, and sometimes even moral. Yet, through it all, Rubio maintained a vision: to honor his parents' sacrifices, serve his community, and show that anyone, no matter how humble their beginnings, could reach the highest echelons of power. And even as the media buzzed with speculation about his future, Rubio never lost sight of his roots. He returned to Miami regularly, walking the streets where he played as a boy, listening to the stories of immigrants and dreamers. He understood that power without empathy is empty, and that real leadership is about connection, not just headlines. Today, Rubio is not just the senator. He is a symbol of perseverance, faith, and the promise that hard work can break barriers. And while the world watches his every move, he continues to plan, to inspire, and to fight for the future he believes in. So if you're listening right now, imagine that young boy from Hialeah: pizza delivery shifts, cramped apartments, the scent of Cuban coffee, growing up to shape a nation. That's the power of belief, determination, and courage.
And remember, this story is far from over. Marco Rubio's journey continues, and in the next part, we'll dive deeper into his Senate achievements, presidential aspirations, and the vision he holds for America's future. Before you continue, make sure you subscribe, because the story of Marco Rubio is one you'll want to hear until the very end. You won't just learn about politics, you'll experience the climb, the struggle, and the triumph that makes his story unforgettable. Winning the Senate wasn't the finish line, it was the starting pistol. Marco Rubio stepped into Washington in 2011, young, ambitious, and determined to make a mark. He knew the rules of the game, but he also knew that rules alone couldn't win hearts. The Capitol was intimidating: marble floors, endless hallways, powerful men and women who had been playing this game for decades. But Rubio didn't flinch. He brought energy, charm, and willingness to speak bluntly, traits that made him both admired and scrutinized. Early on, he focused on issues close to his heart: immigration, economic opportunity, and national security. He argued for comprehensive immigration reform, a position that earned him both praise and criticism. It wasn't just policy to him, it was personal. He remembered his parents' struggles as Cuban exiles, the fear, the hope, and the sacrifices they made to give him a chance. Rubio became a rising star in the Republican Party. He wasn't just another senator. He was a story, the embodiment of the American dream, the kid from Hialeah who delivered pizzas and now debated the future of a nation. Hidden gem fact number 1. Rubio was the first Cuban-American senator to serve on the Foreign Relations Committee, giving him a direct voice on U.S.-Cuba policy. By 2015, the whispers had grown louder. Could Rubio run for president? Could he take the national stage?
He began testing the waters, making speeches, attending rallies, and delivering lines that resonated with both moderates and conservatives. Then came 2016. Rubio announced his candidacy for the Republican presidential nomination. The race was brutal. Donald Trump dominated headlines. Ted Cruz drew sharp conservative support. And Rubio? He tried to balance optimism with pragmatism, charm with discipline. The campaign was grueling. Long flights, endless debates, late-night strategy sessions. He faced criticism for some missteps, notably a debate performance that seemed too scripted, too cautious. But Rubio kept going. Because he had learned one truth from his childhood: quitting was never an option. Hidden gem fact number 2. Rubio practiced every debate answer for hours in front of a mirror, even repeating gestures and pauses until they felt natural. Though he didn't win the nomination, his campaign elevated him. He became a household name, respected for his poise, his intellect, and his ability to connect personal story with national policy. He had shown the country what he always believed: that a child from immigrant parents could rise to the highest stages of politics. Returning to the Senate, Rubio didn't slow down. He took leadership on foreign policy, focusing on Cuba, Venezuela, and the Middle East. He advocated for human rights abroad and economic opportunity at home. His speeches were calculated, passionate, and grounded in both experience and empathy. Hidden gem fact number 3. Rubio is known to read hundreds of pages daily, often studying global conflicts late into the night, long after most senators have gone home.
But politics isn't just about policy. It's about survival. Rubio faced challenges, criticism from the press, political rivals, and even his own party. He learned that every word is scrutinized, every decision questioned, every move dissected. Yet, Rubio adapted. He became a master at messaging, a strategist who could inspire supporters while navigating complex legislation. And through it all, he never lost the humility of the boy who once delivered pizzas. By 2020, Rubio had become a mentor to younger politicians, an advisor to presidential candidates, and a respected voice on national security. He was invited to speak on international stages, representing America and the promise of immigrant resilience. Hidden gem fact number 4. Rubio's staff once joked that he memorized more world capitals and leaders than any other senator, a habit he developed while studying for debates. Even with all his success, Rubio's life remained rooted in family. He and his wife, Jeanette, have grown together, raising children in a home that balances love, faith, and discipline. He often says his family keeps him grounded, a reminder of the sacrifices his parents made and the responsibility he carries to the next generation.
As America watched, Rubio also quietly shaped his future vision: a stronger economy, a secure nation, and a culture that valued hard work, faith, and integrity. He believes leadership is more than votes, it's example, and he strives to live by it despite the pressures and pitfalls of public life. Hidden gem fact number 5. Rubio is known to start each day reading a Bible verse and writing in a personal journal, a practice he says helps him stay focused amid chaos. The story of Marco Rubio is still unfolding. From the streets of Hialeah to the halls of the Senate, from a pizza delivery boy to a presidential candidate, he has defied odds and expectations. And the questions remain. What's next for this ambitious son of immigrants? Will he run again for president? Will he shape the Republican Party for a new generation? Or will he focus on leaving a legacy of policy,
integrity, and opportunity for those who come after him. One thing is certain. Rubio's story is a reminder of what the American dream looks like when courage, faith, and persistence collide. A kid from a small apartment, a boy who once worried about the next meal, now shaping national debates and inspiring millions. So, as you listen to his journey, imagine yourself in his shoes. The doubts, the triumphs, the endless grind.